Hi, I'm Mariam Yakub. I am a data analyst at Fresenius Medical Care. I am based in Berlin.
Hi, I'm Tian. I work at Zalando. I'm a VP of personalization recommendation.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa. I'm the founder of Girls Talk.
Hi everyone, I'm Molly and I'm head of communications for Smoobu and I'm based in Berlin.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary, currently working as an advertising manager for a global tech company. And beside that also, I am an entrepreneur.
Great. So welcome to this episode. I'm super excited because I feel like we're really going to get stuck in to what is the state of women in tech who are based in Germany, but we're in Berlin for this episode specifically. And let's get stuck into what we're going to talk about today. So as women, let's focus on the senior leadership piece, right? And we know that in Germany, we need more senior women in leadership in tech specifically. So if you can just think back to your career journey, can you share with us like the 3 key moments that you feel got you to where you are today?
I think my first moment was growing up. I always wanted to be an actress. So I spent a lot of time in plays and in drama school. So I learned a lot about performance and how to sell yourself, etc. So I suppose the moment that I understood I could be something. I then, leaving university, I went to work in advertising sales and I realized that I wasn't a good salesperson, but I could sell a good story. And then from there, met a lot of different people and people in the communications team in that media company, and developed kind of my skills for writing and for presenting, etc. And then the most recent moment was I worked for a big tech company, one of the biggest tech companies in the world, for 5 years, and I was working in the UK and I was in communications roles. But I was fairly stagnant in where I was, and I was part of the layoffs last year, in January last year, and I had the opportunity when I was interviewing and looking for my next opportunity to join a startup, which meant that my role would be a head of communications role versus a communication manager role, which was a great step up for me.
So taking that leap in terms of going to a new country and a different type of business, or going from like a large sort of big tech company to a small out with high growth.
Yes.
Was really good in terms of you getting that leadership experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's worth saying that, prefacing everything with, with my white privilege, I'm also a cis woman and identify as a female. So, with everything all those moments, there was a huge amount of privilege as well.
Yeah.
And also privilege to be able to move to another country.
Yeah.
In itself.
And how have you found that, like getting into the Berlin ecosystem?
I'm only a couple months in, so I'm trying to reserve any judgment or criticism or anything. I recognize that I'm a foreigner, an immigrant. German is not my first language. I'm learning German, I promise.
Yeah.
I'm learning German. I have found it an experience. It's very, very different from the UK culture-wise, working-wise. So the working culture is very much more high. There's more hierarchy here, and also the culture is generally a little bit more direct.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Very direct.
Yeah. So yes, I'm trying to navigate the kind of cultural differences, but also acknowledging that I'm trying to assimilate into a different kind of working culture.
And then, Tian, thinking about you, what 3 moments led up to, where you are today?
There are a lot of moments, but if I think about where I am today, I'm a woman leader in technology. So maybe a few moments when I was excited about technology, the moments that data, AI, machine learning started to really become obviously important, when cloud computing and open source technology becomes big data becomes popular, and then a lot of industry company was trying to assess whether this is something that worthy for the company to adapt. And then I got a unique opportunity to be on the team that leading this exploration. And I think that was the moment that I really felt that this is the domain that worth of my investment for a longer time. And so that was one important moment for me. I really, really want to go into the AI machine learning area and then be at the frontier of exploring its value. That was a long time ago. Of course, now it's
the craze, isn't it? It's the craze now.
Yeah. It's like no longer, like no company has the doubts that this is something that companies need to invest into. But back at the time, this was considered as a hype. So that was an interesting moment. And of course, I was excited about that so-called hype.
Yeah.
I think another moment made me thought about I want to go into leadership is there was this project we worked on for a long time, and then we already cracked the most important part of it, but there was a gap of leadership during that time. So it was a moment that I need to decide whether I just accept this is going nowhere because of the gap, or I can step up and then lead without authority and then try my best to get it somewhere. And then I made a decision to step up without authority. Of course, need to navigate that power dynamic as well. But at the end of the day, it was really successful. And then the moment that people come to me, thank me for actually stepping up instead of saying something the opposite, then I thought it's helpful to lead at some point. So people actually need you to lead if you encounter such situation. So that's the moment I thought maybe I would like to go more into the leadership position.
And I love that. It's like not waiting to be invited, but kind of just like you're saying, stepping up and saying, look, there's a need, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah, it's sometimes many people need to reconcile this feeling like do I want to lead for personal reason, like for my own glory, or do I want to lead for a bigger purpose? Many people wouldn't have that craving of a personal glory, so they wouldn't have that much drive to go into leadership position. But then that was the moment I realized being a leader is not all about personal glory. It's actually largely not about personal glory. It's about stepping up and helping the team.
Just thinking about work life and personal life and talking about how we blend this. So a lot of people think when we talk about the blend, they automatically assume it's around women and babies. And that's not always the case. And I'm really keen to show that work-life blend is very different for individuals, right? It could be so many different things. So I'd love to know just generally, how do you make sure that you're able to blend in all areas of your life so that you can show up at work and really thrive? So maybe like Mary, like what does the work-life blend mean for you and how do you sort of make it work?
That's a good question. Personally, for me, I think is to have an environment that I can be myself, include the community that I'm in and the people that I have around me. That helps me to balance it, to know that that's my safe place. I can be who I am. I don't need to wear the mask. Because most of the time, whether we like it or not, being at work, we do wear a mask. And the things that we do, we have to perform, and also as women. So it's always that eager that there's much more expected from us. What we do is not privileged. And then on top of that, as a Black woman, so it always feels like you have to do more than the rest. So navigating that with my personal life, I need more time where I can just be me with my friends. That is actually, that helped me to blend in. And just to be me, basically. That's the simple thing. I really like my work.
That's fair. I love that. That's so authentic.
Yeah, so I really like my work. Back at the time I was a scientist, I still considered myself as a scientist. For a scientist, when I was doing research, you never stop thinking about what you research for, right? So there's not really a clear line of separating my life and my work. What actually keep me in check of thinking about other perspective beyond work is my family. So when I think about when I was younger, thinking about spending time with my parents. When I get married, thinking about spend time with my husband, and then kids does keep your priority clear. Right?
Yeah.
So when I had my 2 daughters, I think that's what keep me engaged with life outside of work, because I don't want to miss the moment with them. I want to create a moment with my family, with my friends.
For me, it's about similar to everyone else that I need to set boundaries. So I'm neurodiverse. I have something called non-verbal learning. So I'm kind of on a spectrum, and my brain means that my processing is kind of stop start. So I need to have lots of breaks during the workday. But I've only really started to really think about how I work the last couple of years. In my previous organization, I worked all the time. And especially in communications and PR, you're expected to work with media who work all the time as well. They work on Saturdays and Sundays, Monday to Friday, etc. So I'm very used to working longer hours, but in this role, I was really clear when I was interviewing that I wouldn't be sitting at a desk for 8 hours, because that's not a good use of my time. It's not productive. And I wouldn't be committing the same amount of time. So I suppose I was just really clear of my intentions, and I expressed what made me feel good as well. I said, if you want me to be at my best, I need to go to an art gallery during the day, or I need to be able to go to...
love it.
Yeah, I need to be able to go to a CrossFit class. Like, those are the things that will relax me, and then I'll be even better.
Thinking, being a woman in tech, we've only got 17% of women in tech in Germany right now. If you're thinking about how it feels to show up in an environment where, you're one of few women, especially when we think about leadership, even when you're kind of progressing in your career, it can be quite daunting to speak up, have your voice heard, lead teams, speak at high profile engagements, all of that encompasses, the day-to-days of a working professional. Have you ever experienced self-doubt, and how do you deal with it? And just what are your thoughts on sort of navigating this space, in particular in Germany?
Okay. I think I wouldn't speak for general or for myself. Every now and then, sometimes I doubt my capabilities at times. And it's just sort of like crazy to think that sometimes I take a step back to whenever I see like an opportunity that I feel like would be good, but then I have a rethink that, okay, am I actually good enough for this opportunity, or do I have the right qualifications for it? But when in the actual sense, taking a look back at what I have done in the past, in terms of like the roles that I have taken up, I would find out that, okay, this is something you have done, or even much more in the past. So I think to sort of like solve that problem for me, what I just usually try to do is take a moment to reflect, bring out my brand book, and sort of like, okay, reflect on what I have done, and that sort of gives me more confidence and more insights to what I have done in the past, that I feel like, okay, if not better than what I can do now, I can sort of always like reflect, or sort of take that prior knowledge to implement it in this case.
I was thinking about like the Mary now and the Mary like 10 years ago when I started my career. And I would say back when I started working for tech companies, or in general working, I was a person like would like to be heard, but exactly what she said, I would like to please everyone, so to fit in, because this is how I thought this is where I'm gonna be heard. And even going to interviews, I never made clear actually what I want, or never took time to do a research. What kind of company is this? Do they have a lot of women? Do they have people of color? How is the culture looks like? So I say, obviously we all wanted, I wanted to gain some experience, so I would like to just take any job opportunity. And it was more like, I'm thankful, I'm grateful. And I remember my grandma told me once when I was in Kenya, I'm originally from Kenya, and I went there and I was at my breaking point, it was 2014, and she was like, Mary, what are you doing? Have you forgotten who you are? And I was like, yeah, but it's in Europe, so I have to fight, I have to take whatever they give it to me. And she was like, never forget who you are. And you have something to give. So whenever you go into an interview, they need you. You have to make clear that they're gonna hire you and you have abilities that they need so that you can work for them.
What about when we're talking about, I guess, in examples of where, when we think about the strategic decisions of companies, right? And whether it's in the boardroom or during certain key meetings, how do you get your voice heard in this environment that is very male dominated? It can be quite scary, intimidating for women. How do you navigate that?
Normally, people go into a room, when you go into a room with pre-assumptions already, with a natural unconscious bias already. So one of the key to get heard is actually do the homework. So before, a lot of work go in before you even go into that room, having that conversation. So if you have the opportunity, build the trust all the time and get to know the people, do the homework. If you can talk to them or talk to people who you know, who knows them, then talk or study their background. If this is a really important meeting for you to get heard and you are trying to convey an idea. So a lot of this homework goes before you go into the meeting room. And I think during the meeting, articulate your point clearly. Don't be afraid. Like if you have a good point to say, believe, right? Believe in that your point is actually going to contribute. And then I think it's always a two-way communication. Whenever you go into a room having a conversation, it takes two to tango. So it takes you to really express yourself clearly, to listen attentively, but it's also take the other parties to actually open up their mind and then listen.
Yeah, no, I love that. What about you, Moni?
I agree with you on research. When I first joined an organization, I try and get to know as many people as possible, whether they're office managers or the housekeeping, or they're sit on the board. For me, they all are as equally important. And I'm a raging extrovert, so I'll go up and introduce myself to people. I'm not very embarrassed. Maybe that's also a neurodiverse thing that I don't get as embarrassed. But I also try and remember information about them. So, for example, X likes salsa dancing on the weekend. So I can kind of equate to, that's my way of understanding who they are and what kind of gets them going. Mm-hmm. So yeah, doing lots of research, and then also ensuring you understand what their objective is. Mm-hmm. So you're working for, say, a software platform. Do they want to acquire new users? Is that the main business objective? And understanding how you can add to their objective. So if you're put in front of a head of sales, for example, if I'm a PR person, you want to increase your sales, this is how we can work together in order to do that. Mm-hmm. So kind of marrying the two objectives. I think that's the main focus. Mm-hmm. And being bullshit in your approach. Yeah. Making sure that you are following up, you're doing your research, you're then having the meeting, you're following up that meeting, and you have regular touch points with that person. to make sure that you're reinstating that you are the boss.
Thinking about women of colour, so my questions is to Mariam and Mary. So there was a report that was featured in Sifted, which did a research on the experiences of people of colour who worked in the workplace in Germany. And what came out of it was that they said that people of colour felt that there was a very kind of old school, traditional type of working environment that was not really conducive to their success. And they felt that what you touched on about having to prove yourself. And I just wanted to get your viewpoints on your experiences, if you feel like you can relate around being a woman of colour in the ecosystem. Do you feel like you have to prove yourself and work twice as hard than your white or non-people of colour counterparts? That smile says it all. Is this that? Yes, that reaction says it all. Let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate. So I remember joining an organization and then joining a department where I was the only Black woman there. And it's kind of like felt lonely, to be honest, because I felt like I couldn't sort of like relate to most of like their ways of maybe working and culture. Also because I was sort of like just entering a new environment and culture, country generally, basically. So it was like a very big jump for me. And I would say that it can be a lot of work, especially when you don't have the right support in terms of maybe like a manager or a leader that you can sort of like always lean on to, or sort of like get the right guidance. And yeah, it can be lonely, to be honest, and also can sort of like tell on your sort of productivity at the workplace as well, because you tend to feel like you need to do more just to prove yourself.
Thank you for sharing.
She just spoke out of my heart. So that's why I agree 100%. It's hard. It can be lonely, and I think the best way is not to fight it, is to accept it, but not to stay in the lonely phase. To say, okay, what am I gonna do? It is what it is. Because I remember once I was hired in a company, and they literally told me, we hired you because of a quote. That they said it.
Really?
And I was the only Black person in the company. And I was like, what? Some later on, this is when you start to reflect of like, what did they do? But they just wanted to fulfill the numbers. But as a person, I always try to see things differently, meaning that even though I might be the only person in the company, what difference can I make? And I feel like a Black woman is very important for me, not just to see in my color, but to see the ability. So when I enter into a room, I'll be like, okay, I don't want to work harder than everybody else. We have the same skills, so we are all humans. Can we have that as a foundation? So I will use that as a foundation regardless who is in front of me. And why? Because I'm aware that I'm the only person, but I don't need to give the other person to feel that I'm the only person. So I have the power. What I show them, do I show them that I feel lonely and I'm alone? Or am I going to show them this is something that we can change and we can work together, and regardless of my color?
I guess it's good to move on to this next point around, as we spoke about before, how it feels to be in an environment, in a space where you're, again, one of few. There are going to be times when you felt or feel alone. So thinking back about the power of community, can you think about the times when you have felt alone in this ecosystem, in a new environment? Many of us are expats or immigrants, however you want to phrase it. So if you can share when you felt most alone, and then who or which group of people helped you to feel like you had, people who had your back.
I think when I just came to Germany, I was talking to my team and I said, like, we want to be great, right? We don't settle for just good. And I got a lot of blank faces.
Yeah.
Culture shock. I think. And it's like, we want to be great.
Yeah.
We don't want to be just good. And I don't think that's always... no, not always the cultural foundation everywhere. But later on, what I also realized is maybe this is not the cultural norm in some places. If you've been in Germany longer, you can tell me whether.
Yeah.
But there are always people who want to be great, who doesn't settle for just be good. And then I think that is not a desire that we should be ashamed of or shy away from. And then the question is, like, are you in an environment that this is necessary? Be great is necessary, not settle for good. Are you able to gather a group of people that have a similar philosophy as you, have a similar desire and ambition for our customer to build something that is not just good, but great? What I realize is that there are a lot of people like that, and then it's about finding them. And now I no longer get a blank face.
Yeah.
And I have a team saying, like, we want to be great. We just don't want to be just good.
Just to wrap up, is there anything that you want to share? I guess there are maybe women who work in tech in Germany, maybe even more specifically in tech hubs like Munich or Berlin, or even other areas of Germany, right? And then watching, what would you want them to feel? They're listening into a conversation. What would you, if they were here, what would you want to say to them?
Be courageous, be bold, know who you are. And especially if I would be talking to a young woman who is a Black girl, don't let your color limit you. See what you can achieve with all your talents. Like, try to differentiate the color of what you can do. What you do is not who you are. So more than that. So if you can have that perspective, you can go into a room regardless if it's a male-dominant room. You can just be as equal with them because you're talking from a skills perspective and not from a color perspective. So be bold, be courageous, and yeah.
I love that.
Yes, I totally agree. I think the big thing is, be authentic as you can be yourself, because it will be tiring if you're eventually not being yourself. Don't be afraid to challenge people. Don't be afraid to piss people off and not get on with people.
Yes.
Because that's what
you
you
want to be liked.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're there for money. So
Yeah.
try and make the change that you can make.
You're getting paid to do the job. And
Yeah.
do it. Yeah. Tia.
I think you mentioned 17%, right? 17% women. So I think it's one thing, glass half full to look at it. We are 17%. That's not a small number either. We want the number to be higher, but we're no longer going to be the first woman of ever doing something anymore. You have a community. You have a lot of women working in this area that is trying every day, trying hard to make it better. So I think this is also important to remember. We're not alone. We're not the first one, not the second one, not the third one. We have 17% of the workforce just the same as us. And then this is encouraging to all of us. And then increasing that number is so much easier than from 0 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. I love that perspective.
Yeah, I think I've all said the bulk of what needs to be done. I just wanted to add that for younger Black women or women generally within the space, don't be afraid to reach out to communities, to reach out to people that have been there before you. If you find someone like a mentor or someone that you sort of like resonate well with in terms of what they have done or what they are doing, and it's something that you would like to also do, reach out to people, learn from their experiences, and just keep growing.